Welcome to the Creative Cast. I'm your host, Tammy Munson, podcast producer, coach, and CEO of Wildfire Creative. Are you struggling to grow and monetize your podcast? Want to learn more about starting your own podcast? Are you looking for the secrets behind the business side of podcasting? Well, friends, you are in the right place. Here on the Creative Cast, I'm going to be sharing all the tips and tricks on all things podcasting for the faith-based podcaster. Each episode is going to contain powerful information to help you get started with your own podcast, learn the secrets of building a business, and of course, growing and monetizing your podcast. All right, y'all, without further ado, let's get started. Hey y'all, and welcome to the very first episode of the Creative Cast for 2023. It just feels so weird saying that, right? I have to tell y'all, I am so excited about 2023 and what I feel is going to be a really, really great year for everyone. Now, I just got done doing all of my business planning and personal planning, as well as doing my word of the year. But I gotta tell y'all, so in 3 weeks, it'll be my birthday. And y'all, it's a big one. Yes, on January 23rd, I will turn 50. 50, can you believe it? Oh, that's just so crazy. Now, we are planning a very special episode for that day. My friend Melody and I are going to have a really cool show. I cannot wait for you to hear it. We had so much fun. So you want to make sure to tune in for that. And if you're in the Dallas or Waco, Texas area, stay tuned for a special announcement because I will be there during that time on my birthday. So, okay, back to word of the year. Now, do y'all do this? So I choose a word to kind of set the tone for the year. And I do this every year. And I can't remember when I started it, but my friend Chris Brogan, the OG mayor of podcasting, he introduced me to the concept many, many years ago. And it's one of my absolute favorite things to do, not only to plan for the new year, but to look back on the current year and see, did that word hold true? And usually it does. Now, the word for 2022 was thrive. And we did that in so many ways, both professionally and personally. We had some really high moments and some really low moments last year, and we managed to come through it and thrive through each of those seasons. Now, this year, the word is elevate, and I'm really excited to see what that brings. Now, do you have a word of the year? If so, let me know. Go ahead and DM us on Instagram at Wildfire Creative Co. Now, I also wanted to mention about my free coaching call that I am doing in January. Do you need someone who could answer one of your most challenging podcast questions? I don't want you to go at it alone in 2023. Sign up for a free coaching call with me. All you got to do is go to wildfirecreativecompany.com, click on podcast coaching, and then click on the Let Me Help You button. Don't worry, friends. I will drop the link in the show notes for you. Okay, so speaking of questions, I got a lot of them over the last several months. And so I thought, why not? Let me go ahead and answer them. So without further ado, let's dive in. Okay, we're just going to kick it off with the most popular question. And when I say the most popular question, every time I talk to someone about launching a podcast or they want to see about maybe coaching, this is the number one question that they ask me. So it's either what mic do I use or what mic should they get? Now, of course, I use the Rode Podcaster USB mic for most things. If I really need to kind of up the game a little bit, I'll use the Rode Procaster XLR. And I also have a special little mic called the Rode ME-L It's an Apple iPhone microphone, and I use that when I'm recording things for IG. Now, full disclosure, I do own a Blue Yeti, but I do not recommend them. Y'all probably have heard me talk about this. They're not great for podcasting. They literally will pick up everything in the room. So don't even go there. There's lots of great mics out there. For all budgets, there's Audio-Technica. They have really great entry-level mics. Shure M7 is another great mic. It's a little on the spendier side. The most important thing is where you're recording it. So you want to get something that's a dynamic mic, and you want to do it in a room that either has a lot of soft surfaces, or maybe you even need to consider your closet as a recording space. So the next question I get, and this is the most popular question, number 2, is, can I make money with my podcast? Now, this question always appears at the top of people's minds because of the success that so many high-profile podcasters have found with monetization strategies. So the answer, my friend, is technically yes. And if you listen to last week's episode all about the podcasting trends, and it's going to be big, y'all. 2023 is going to be really, really big. The ad spending has been steadily increasing and will continue to do so in 2023. However, let me say this. Yes, you can make some money with podcasting. Yep, you can certainly monetize, bring in some extra revenue, but not everybody is going to bring in those big numbers. So, for example, my friends over at Storytellers Alive, they have an incredibly successful monetization program. Now, they are a nonprofit, so all of the money that they make goes right back into their podcast, but they have an extremely successful Patreon program. Basically, you pay for a subscription every month, and in exchange for that, they provide additional content, Q&As, special guests, where are they now from past storytellers, things like that. So there's much, much more involved in it. So that's one way. But there's so many ways that you can make money with your podcast. And basically, if you look at all the different options, they basically can be broken down into 2 categories. Getting paid by sponsors or getting paid by your audience. Payment through sponsors usually involves having ads on your podcast. Now, you probably have heard numerous ones. Some podcasts choose only to do for the products and or services that podcast host provides. Like here on the Creative Cast, we only do ads about things that we're doing or something very, very special that maybe we're in collaboration with or partner on. If you're going to have a straight up ad, it's where you're promoting other people's products or services. That's either going to be done by reading an ad while you're recording your episode or through dynamic ad insertion. Now, dynamic ad insertion is relatively new for podcasting. TV shows and radio have been using it for years. So basically, dynamic ad insertion means that at a specific timestamp that you select, a cut will be made in your audio and the ad will be inserted so that you don't have to worry about recording episodes in pieces, leaving seconds of silence, or even having to re-edit those episodes. So the ads stay current. And then once the ad doesn't need to run anymore, for example, if that campaign ends or it's not as current as it needs to be, let's say it's an ad that is talking about Christmas, that ad can then be taken out. And the cool thing is the audio sounds just like it did when you uploaded it. It's a very, very cool technology. Podcast host that I love that uses this technology is Buzzsprout. I'll drop the link in the show notes for that. Now, let's talk about payment through your audience. So this will look like basically donations. So it can either be one time through sites like PayPal or Buy Me a Cup of Coffee. You can use Patreon, and there's other versions out there like Patreon. I personally like Patreon the best. I think it's the best value for the price that they charge. But then you could also do profits from sales, either through merch that you have on your website, or even older episodes, or perhaps a special bonus episode that you put behind a paywall. There's lots of different options for you here. Okay. So yes, you can make money. There's many different ways to do that. The other thing, you could even do affiliate type things as well. You want to look at the options, see what's going to work best for you and your audience and what you're willing to do. Okay. The next question is, how can I get more people to listen to my podcast? Usually when I get asked this question, my initial response is, well, what do you do to promote your episode? And most people go, oh, well, I put something on Instagram, or I'll put something about it on my Facebook page, and that's pretty much it. It's not a big splash. Friend, let me tell you, the number one surefire, best way to get more listeners to tune into your podcast is promotion, promotion, promotion. The first thing, though, is that you have to make sure that you're putting out a great episode to begin with. Audio quality, high quality content, as well as microphone quality. Once you've done that and you're putting out the best content that you could possibly put out, there are so many different ways to get the word out about your podcast. Like I said, social media, email, asking your current listeners to share the episode with their friends, doing collaborations with other podcasters, ad swaps, podcast host swaps. There's all kinds of different ways to do it. You can even organize a street team that promotes your podcast with stickers, flyers, t-shirts, or other types of merchandise. So there's no reason why you can't grow your podcast, but you have to make sure that you've got a good quality podcast to begin with. So this question comes from my friend Liz in Salt Lake City. And she says, Tammy, how do you dream big or plan for your podcast future? And I know a lot of people have trouble with dreaming big. Dreaming big starts with you. It starts with you believing that you can achieve great things. So if you go back and look at your successes and your failures, and yes, I want you to look at those, this is probably going to help boost your confidence. And let me explain why. So when you go back and look at all the things that you've accomplished or the things that you messed up on, the things that you messed up on, you learned from. You learned how to do it better, right? So if you're struggling with imposter syndrome, or you just don't believe that you could do it because no one has supported you in that, whatever the reason is, it does not matter. Friend, I know that you can do this. When I do this exercise with clients and I say, okay, give me your biggest stream for your podcast. What do you want to hit? What are the downloads looking like? Who would be the guests? And people have a tendency to kind of pull back and go, well, it would be really great if I had this person, or if I had 1,000 downloads. And I stop them and I go, no, let's go bigger. What are we really going to hit? What are we really going to do? What is the biggest thing that you can dream of for your podcast? Because when it comes to dreaming bigger, you have to face your fears of failure and success. And you have to visualize the possible outcomes following these big dreams that you have. Once I was reading an article about Olympians. I think it was during the last Summer Olympics, and I was reading this article about what they do in order to train and how they can go years and years and years and years training. And one of the things that they do is they visualize themselves winning, being on the podium and winning gold for whatever their event they're in. And it's that visualization and constantly training and constantly learning, going back and looking at footage of their past performances or their past races and looking at going, okay, what did I do right and what did I do wrong? and learning from those things, and each time getting better and better and better. That's what you need to do, friends. So if you are sitting out there listening going, I would love to do that, but I just can't. I don't have anyone that really supports me in this. Don't play small. Go out there and do the thing. One of the other questions that I got kind of goes along with this is, what is one thing you wish faith-based podcasters knew about their God-sized calling to podcast? First of all, God gave you this calling for a reason. He chose you to do this. He will make sure that you are set up for success. Be obedient in what He wants you to do, and He will line it all up for you. Hebrews chapter 13, verse 20 through 21 says, "May the God of peace, who through the blood of the eternal covenant brought back from the dead our Lord Jesus, that great shepherd of the sheep, equip you with everything good for doing His will. And may He work in us what is pleasing to Him through Jesus Christ, to whom be glory forever and ever. Amen." So He's going to make sure that we have everything that we need. It might not be in our time, because our time is skewed a little bit. It's going to be on His timetable. Unfortunately, not ours. We'd all like to have everything done right now. To make the business be a success, to make the podcast be a success, to whatever big dream that you have. We'd love for it to happen now, next week, not next year or in 5 years from now. The other thing I wanted to mention, and I mentioned it a little bit, about playing small. I see this so much from faith-based podcasters. Oh, I can't do this, or oh, I can't do that, because so-and-so said it's a waste of time, or whatever the excuse is. Doesn't really matter. I don't want you to buy into what your friends, your family, and people on the internet are telling you. You can do this. I know that you can. I believe in you. Because sometimes our friends and family, they love us so much, and they don't want to see us fail. They don't want to see us hurt. And so they try to bring us down to a more realistic goal. But they don't know what God has planned for you, just like you don't know what God has planned for them. So you can do this. I say this every week, ladies, and I believe it in the essence of my core. You can do this. You were made for this. I don't want imposter syndrome, intimidating technology, mean comments from people on the internet, whatever it is, to stop you from reaching your goals in 2023. So let's walk through the journey together so you can spend less time worrying about all the things, all the details. More time spreading your message, sharing your story, and answering the call that God has given you. Friends, I just want to wish you Happy New Year from all of us here at Wildfire. I hope today's episode, even though it was a little short, was very helpful for you. And I will talk to you next Monday. Bye, y'all.